After President Trump's meeting with Netanyahu, he issued warnings to both Hamas and Iran. We talked about it after the fact, but what can you tell us about what he said and what news was made?
Yeah, and this is driven by Israel's concern that, in their view, that Iran is beginning to restock its ballistic missile supply, telling that the president, when asked about it, said, well, if that's confirmed, it's a serious situation, but didn't seem to agree necessarily that that is indeed happening. Take a listen to some of what he had to say in response.
Iran may be behaving badly. It hasn't been confirmed. But if it's confirmed, look, they know the consequences. Consequences will be very powerful, maybe more powerful than the last time.
Of course, there were strikes over the summer conducted by the United States and Israel that are believed to have at least severely damaged 3 different sites that housed elements of Iran's nuclear weapons development program. In this case, it's ballistic missiles that Israel alleges they're restocking. And in essence, part of this trip was designed for Netanyahu to come here and essentially get permission from the president to strike if they feel the need. But you saw him there say, well, if that's true, yes, but clearly the United States isn't necessarily there with Israel and agreeing on what exactly they're up to.
Thanks so much. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd. So, Sam, of course, Iran top of mind in yesterday's meeting. The president saying it hasn't been confirmed, but if Iran is in fact rebuilding in a different site, he said he doesn't want to waste the fuel on another B-52 trip. What do you make of those comments?
What I make is that Prime Minister Netanyahu remains focused on reducing threats from Iran to Israel, which he has been for the almost 30 years that he's been in office, but that the United States and Israel may have different intelligence assessments of what Iran's intentions are and what their capabilities are. On the nuclear front, the United States did inflict damage to Iran's nuclear facilities. However, Iran does retain highly enriched uranium, which could be used to break out to a bomb. On the ballistic missile front, Iran has had more ballistic missiles than any other nation in the region other than Israel, and it's really their leverage when it comes to wreaking havoc across the region, both against targets in Israel, American troops overseas via proxies, and more. So it does appear that there is some kind of intelligence gap between what the U.S. thinks Iran is doing and capable of and what Israeli intelligence is saying on those fronts, Lindsay.
As we head into the new year, I want to ask you about some of the top national security threats the U.S. is facing in the new year. What are they to you? And could artificial intelligence factor into the equation?
Artificial intelligence, interestingly, is both a threat and an opportunity. Artificial intelligence can greatly enhance a range of national security endeavors, investigative work, make it more efficient, collection of intelligence, make that more efficient and more widespread, military capabilities, autonomous vehicles. I mean, AI can offer an explosion in terms of national security capabilities, but it does allow a range of bad actors to present more credible and effective threats. If you look at cyber, AI can let any kind of actor, not just a nation state, more efficiently scan for vulnerabilities, for example, in critical infrastructure. AI can allow any number of actors, criminals, terrorists, and more, to pretend to be someone else via deepfakes and otherwise in more credible fashion. And that poses a range of national security threats in terms of extortion, saying you could pose it as a political candidate, as a politician, and say that there's danger that isn't there and more. So AI is a threat and an opportunity. I think the biggest threat facing this country in 2026 is probably politically motivated violence, particularly heading into midterms. We are facing an unprecedented amount of politically motivated violence that's being noticed around the world. And the midterms are only going to enhance that threat environment. And I'm deeply focused on that in the months ahead.
Okay. Sam Vinograd, thank you.